Hello. It's good to see you today. We are back with another one of these little church cookbooks. You find the best recipes in these little privately published church cookbooks. I love them. I have gotten so many great ideas for recipes from books like this. And I find these all the time at thrift stores, and they're great little cookbooks. They really are. And today we're going to be taking a look at the cakes, cookies, and desserts section. I thought this would be fun. And usually when you come to a new section like this, they're going to give you some little tips and some information on something related to that section. In this one, we get a little bit of information about candy testing. So you learn about making different types of candy like fudge or fondant, divinity or caramels, taffy, butterscotch, peanut brittle, caramelized sugar. It's pretty cool. And my brother, when he was in high school, got really good at making butterscotch. He became fascinated with making butterscotch and stuff like that. And he used to make really good butterscotch. Okay, anyway, we're going to go ahead and look at some of these recipes, and we are going to read these. Now, again, this is cakes, cookies, and desserts. All right. The first recipe we have is an old-fashioned caramel cake. Now, this word is pronounced differently by different people. Even in the area where I grew up, it seemed like everyone pronounced it differently. So, I grew up saying caramel. You may not pronounce it that way, and it's all right. It doesn't matter. I mean, when I say caramel, I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. Now, if you want to make an old-fashioned caramel cake, you're going to need a stick of margarine, 1.5 cups of sugar, 2 eggs, 2 cups of sifted flour, 1 cup of buttermilk, 1 tablespoon of vinegar, 1 teaspoon of soda, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Cream margarine and sugar together until light and fluffy. Add eggs one at a time and continue beating. Add sifted flour alternately with buttermilk. Blend well. Stir in soda, which has been dissolved in vinegar. Add vanilla. Pour into 2 8-inch cake pans, which have been greased and floured, or put in a 9 by 13-inch pan. Line bottom with waxed paper. Bake 25 minutes at 350 degrees. Use caramel icing to frost. And we do have a recipe for that. Here is the recipe for the caramel icing. You're going to need 1 stick of margarine, a 1-pound box of light brown sugar, 1/2 cup of evaporated milk, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Melt margarine in heavy saucepan. Add sugar and stir to blend well. Add milk and cook to soft ball, BALL stage, 234 degrees to 236 degrees. Remove from heat and let stand about 5 minutes. Add baking powder and beat until smooth and creamy. The more you beat, the creamier it is. Frost cake. Well, that sounds really simple. You know, a lot of these simple recipes are so good, too. You don't have to make something really fancy for it to be good. And here we have another caramel cake and icing combination. For this one, you're going to need 3 cups of Swan's Down cake flour, 1.5 sticks of butter, 1 cup of milk, 2 cups of sugar, 3 teaspoons of baking powder, a pinch of salt, 4 eggs, 1 teaspoon of lemon flavoring. Cream, butter, and sugar. Add eggs. Add dry ingredients alternately with milk. Add flavoring. Grease and flour 3 9-inch cake pans. Divide batter between the 3 pans and bake at 350 degrees until tests done in the center. I've never heard of putting lemon flavoring in a caramel cake. I kind of want to try that. And then for the icing, you need 1.5 pounds of light brown sugar, 1 stick of butter, 3/4 of a pint of cream, and 1 to 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Bring sugar, butter, and cream to boil. Boil no more than 5 minutes. Stir constantly. Test during boiling for soft boil stage. Cool. After cooling, beat icing until smooth. Spread on cake. I kind of like this one better. I kind of want to try that one. Plus, I don't have to watch the temperature exactly. And then here we have a lemonade cake. Oh, I like lemonade. And I like cake. I could have a lemonade cake. For lemonade cake, you need 1 package of lemon cake mix. And this person says they use Duncan Hines. 1 package of lemon instant pudding. 4 eggs. 1 cup of water plus 1 tablespoon. 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. A 6-ounce can of frozen lemonade, undiluted and thawed. 2.5 cups of 4x sugar. Mix together cake mix, pudding, water, eggs, and vegetable oil. Beat 2 minutes. Pour into a 9 by 13 by 2-inch pan. Bake at 350 degrees for 35 minutes. Remove from oven and punch mini holes on top of cake. Mix lemonade and 4x sugar and pour over cake. Bake an additional 5 minutes. Easy and good. Yeah. Oh, and how about this one? We have a poppy seed cake. Poppy seed cake. Nice. For this, you're going to need 1 box of Duncan Hines yellow cake mix, 3/4 cup of Wesson oil, 4 eggs, 1 8-ounce carton of sour cream, 1/2 cup of sugar, and 2 tablespoons of poppy seeds. Grease and flour tube pan. Preheat oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Mix all ingredients and pour into tube pan. Bake for 40 to 45 minutes. Cool for 10 minutes in pan. Invert pan. And then for the glaze, you're going to need 1 cup of confectioner's sugar and 6 tablespoons of lemon juice. Mix together icing ingredients. Drizzle glaze over cooled cake. And then we have a carrot cake. For the carrot cake, you need 1.5 cups of oil, 2 cups of sugar, 4 eggs well beaten, 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of soda, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 cup of chopped pecans, 2 jars of junior baby food carrots. Mix oil and sugar. Beat well. Add eggs and blend. Sift dry ingredients 2 or 3 times. Add nuts to dry ingredients and blend thoroughly with other mixture. Add carrots, small amounts at a time, and blend well. Pour in 4 9-inch pans and bake in 325-degree oven for 20 minutes. Let cool before icing. Keep refrigerated. And for the icing, you need 1 stick of margarine, 1 8-ounce package of cream cheese, 1 box of confectioner's sugar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I think these recipes, I don't think you can get confectioner's sugar in boxes anymore. It looks like everywhere I see it, it's in, just plastic bags. Mix all ingredients together until smooth. Spread on cake. And this person says, Hayden and Will always request this cake for their birthdays. It's from Kathy James. Let's see. Oh, this sounds interesting. Here we have a Laurinburg pound cake. Now, Laurinburg is a town in North Carolina. And we used to go down to the Laurinburg airport when I was a kid. My dad had a gyrocopter that he bought and fixed up, and it wasn't running when he got it. And we used to go down to the Laurinburg, the little tiny airport there. And he would tow it behind his, or my mom would drive his truck and they would tow it on the runway and he would get it up in the air. We went down there numerous times and did that, and I would take my bike and just ride it around out of the way while they went back and forth with the gyrocopter. Has nothing to do with pound cake, but I haven't thought of Laurenburg in a very long time. That's every time I think of Laurenburg, I think of that. For the Laurenburg pound cake, you're going to need 1 pound of butter, 3 cups of sugar, 4 cups of cake flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a pinch of salt, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 6 eggs, and 1/2 cup of milk. Let butter and eggs sit at room temperature 1 hour. Preheat oven to 300 degrees. Cream butter and sugar. Add eggs and beat well. Sift flour, baking powder, and salt together. Add to creamed mixture alternately with milk. Add vanilla. Bake in a greased and floured 10-inch tube pan on middle rack of oven for 2 hours. Do not open oven door while baking. This old-fashioned pound cake has been a favorite in both families for years and is now a much requested cake at FBC. It's from Carolyn Dickens and Mary Powell Rhodes. You could also make a fresh pear cake. Fresh pear cake. That sounds good. For this you need 4 cups of fresh pears, chopped, 3 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of soda, 3/4 cup of salad oil, 2 eggs well beaten, 1 cup of coconut, 1 cup of chopped nuts, 2 cups of sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Mix sugar and chopped pears. Let stand 1 hour or more. Stir often as mixture makes its own juice. Add dry ingredients, then add oil, vanilla, and eggs. Do not use an electric mixer. Pour into greased and floured bundt pan. Bake 1 hour and 15 minutes at 350 degrees. This cake always announces pear season. The recipe originally came from my aunt in Texas. She shared it with my mother, and it's now a favorite in North Carolina as well. From Susan Poorman. Let's see. Oh, here we have a recipe for pineapple upside down cake. I have an aunt that would always make one of these for family reunions. I have to admit it wasn't my favorite, but a lot of people really loved it. I've just never cared for it. But a lot of people look forward to it every year. She has since passed away, unfortunately. Okay, so for this one, you're going to need 1/2 cup of butter, a cup of brown sugar, 1 No. 2 can of sliced pineapple, 8 large pecan halves, a small jar of cherries, 1 cup of sifted flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 3 eggs separated, 1 cup of granulated sugar, and 5 tablespoons of pineapple juice. Melt butter in large baking pan. Spread brown sugar evenly in pan. Arrange pineapple slices on brown sugar. Fill in the spaces with pecans and the holes with cherries. Sift together flour, baking powder, and salt. Beat egg yolks until light, adding sugar gradually. Add juice and flour alternately to egg and sugar mixture. Fold in stiffly beaten egg whites. Pour batter over pineapple. Bake at 375 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes. Cool. Invert on serving plate. This cake was my father's favorite. My mother always made it in her black cast iron frying pan. Ooh, I bet that would be good in one of those iron frying pans. Now that is from Ruth Bailey. My aunt always made one in a, like a bundt pan. And then over here we have a recipe for prune cake. You ever thought of making a prune cake? Ugh. It's never crossed my mind to make a prune cake, but here's the recipe for one. You need 2 cups of plain flour, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of nutmeg, half a teaspoon of allspice, half a teaspoon of cloves, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of soda, 2 eggs, 1½ cups of sugar, 1 cup of oil, 1 cup of buttermilk, 1 cup of chopped prunes, and 1 cup of nuts, which is optional. Sift together dry ingredients. Beat eggs, sugar, and oil. Add dry ingredients to liquid alternately with buttermilk. Stir in chopped prunes and nuts. Spray tube cake pan with Pam. Bake at 325 degrees for 1 hour. Freeze as well. This is an easy cake to make. It is Michael's favorite cake. Sarah Hawks. I guess Michael is very regular then, isn't he? Throw some bran flakes in there and you're good to go. Oh, here we have a recipe for an Elvis Presley pound cake. I don't see any mention of him in here. Maybe this was one that Elvis Presley liked? I don't know. So for the Elvis Presley pound cake, you will need 3 cups of sugar, a ½ a pound of butter, softened, 7 eggs, room temperature, 3 cups of cake flour, sifted twice, with an asterisk, and down here it says do not use self-rising flour. 1 cup of whipping cream, not whipped, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Butter and flour, a 10-inch tube pan. Thoroughly cream together butter and sugar. Add eggs 1 at a time, beating extremely well after each addition. Mix in half the flour, then the whipping cream, then the other half of the flour. Beat 5 full minutes. Add vanilla. Pour batter into prepared pan. Set in cold oven and turn heat to 350 degrees. Bake 60 to 70 minutes until a sharp knife inserted in cake comes out clean. Cool in pan 5 minutes. Remove from pan and cool thoroughly. Wrapped well, this cake keeps several days. Bonnie Baker. You can also make a coconut pound cake. I bet that's good. To make a coconut pound cake, you need 1 cup of butter, 3 cups of sugar, 6 eggs, 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/4 teaspoon of soda, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 8-ounce carton of sour cream, 1 cup of frozen coconut thawed, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1 teaspoon of coconut extract. Cream butter. Gradually add sugar, beating until mixture is light and fluffy. Add eggs 1 at a time, beating well after each addition. Combine flour, soda, salt, and baking powder. Sift together. Add to creamed mixture alternately with sour cream, beginning and ending with flour mixture. Stir in coconut and flavorings. Pour into greased and floured 10-inch tube pan. Bake at 325 degrees for 1 hour and 15 minutes, or until wooden pick inserted in center comes out clean. Cool in pan 15 minutes, and then remove from pan and cool. From Alice Williams. Oh, and here we have a recipe for a turtle cake. For turtle cake, you need 1 German chocolate cake mix, 2/3 cup of evaporated milk, 1½ sticks of butter, 1 cup of chocolate chips, 1 cup of chopped nuts, and 1 4-ounce package of caramels. Mix dry cake mix with 1/3 cup of milk and butter. Spread half the batter in a 13 by 9 inch greased pan. Bake at 350 degrees for 6 minutes. Melt caramels and remaining milk in microwave. Mix well. Spread caramel over cake and sprinkle with nuts and chocolate chips. Spread remaining cake batter over caramel layer. Bake 20 more minutes. From Alice Williams. It actually does sound really good. And here we have a recipe for a Texas sheet cake. Now, sheet cakes are pretty big. Usually 11 by 13 inches. Okay. For the Texas sheet cake, you will need 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of sugar, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 stick of butter, half a cup of buttermilk, 1 cup of water, 3 tablespoons of cocoa, 2 eggs well beaten, 1 teaspoon of soda, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Mix first 3 ingredients together. Put butter, water, and cocoa in saucepan and bring to a boil. Pour over flour mixture and beat well. Add eggs, soda, buttermilk, and vanilla, mixing well after each. Bake in greased and floured 11 by 13 inch cookie sheet with sides. Bake 350 degrees for 20 minutes. Start frosting the last 5 minutes of baking. Frost cake while hot. And then we have a recipe for a scrumptious chocolate frosting. You will need 1 stick of butter, 3 tablespoons of cocoa, 6 tablespoons of milk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 box of powdered sugar. Heat butter, cocoa, and milk in saucepan. Do not boil. Add sugar and vanilla. Mix until smooth and frost cake while it is still hot. This makes a fudge-type frosting. It makes a lot, and I often half it. Great! From Alice Williams. We need to do some of these. We need to bake some of this stuff. This would be so good. I really like that frosting. That looks really simple, and I love a fudge-type frosting. And then we have a recipe for a Dr. Pepper cake. For this Dr. Pepper cake, you're going to need 1 cup of butter, 1 cup of Dr. Pepper, 4 tablespoons of cocoa, 1½ teaspoons of cinnamon, half a cup of buttermilk, 1 teaspoon of soda, 2 cups of plain flour, 2 cups of sugar, half a teaspoon of salt, 2 eggs beaten, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Heat butter and Dr. Pepper until butter melts. Sift together flour, sugar, salt, cinnamon, and cocoa into a mixing bowl. Combine eggs, buttermilk, soda, and vanilla. Add hot Dr. Pepper mix to the dry ingredients and blend well. Add the egg mixture and mix well. Pour into sheet cake pan. Bake at 350 degrees for about 25 minutes or until cake tests done. 5 minutes before cake is done, start the frosting. So it's kind of like the sheet cake. For the frosting, you need 1/4 cup of butter, 3 tablespoons of cocoa, half a cup of chopped pecans, 1/4 cup of Dr. Pepper, 2½ to 3 cups of powdered sugar, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Heat together butter, cocoa, and Dr. Pepper. Remove from heat. Stir in nuts, vanilla, and powdered sugar. Blend well. Spread over hot cake. Wow. I don't know how you're going to start the frosting. They don't mean start applying the frosting. So 5 minutes before the cake finishes baking, you want to start making this. I misread that. Okay. Here we have a recipe for out of this world cake. Out of this world cake. For this, we're going to need 2 sticks of margarine, 4 eggs, 2 cups of sugar, 1 cup of sweet milk. That's just like regular milk. 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 1 pound of graham cracker crumbs, 1 cup of coconut, and 1 cup of chopped nuts. Well, when I was growing up, we drank raw milk straight from the cow. And the dairy farmers refer to regular milk as sweet milk. There's sweet milk and buttermilk. So, you know, I guess you could just get like 2% milk or whatever. I don't think it would really matter. Combine margarine and sugar. Add eggs. Beat. Add cracker crumbs, nuts, and coconut. Add baking powder and milk. Bake in 3 9-inch cake pans at 350 degrees for 40 minutes. And then for the icing, you will need 1 stick of margarine, 1 box of confectioner's sugar, 1 large package of cream cheese, 1 tablespoon of pineapple juice, and 1 can of crushed pineapple drained. Cream margarine and cream cheese until smooth. Add sugar and pineapple juice. Beat until creamy. Top each layer with frosting and pineapple. And here we have a Lickety-Split chocolate cake. Maybe you can make it really fast. Lickety-Split chocolate cake. For this one, you will need 1½ cups of unsifted flour, 1 cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of cocoa, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of water, 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, 1 tablespoon of vinegar, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Combine flour, sugar, cocoa, baking soda, and salt in a large mixing bowl. Add water, vegetable oil, vinegar, and vanilla. Stir with fork or wire whisk just until batter is smooth and ingredients are well blended. Pour into greased and floured 8-inch square or 9-inch layer pan. Bake at 350 degrees for 35 to 40 minutes. May be frosted with quick fudge icing. And up here we just happen to have a recipe for quick fudge icing. How do you make a quick fudge icing? Well, you'll need 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons of cocoa, 2 tablespoons of margarine or butter, 1/4 cup of milk, 1 tablespoon of light corn syrup, dash of salt, 3/4 to 1 cup of sifted confectioner's sugar. Mix together sugar and cocoa in small saucepan. Stir in milk, corn syrup, and salt. Add margarine. Bring to full rolling boil. Boil vigorously for 3 minutes, stirring occasionally. Cool. With wire whisk, beat in vanilla and gradually add just enough confectioner's sugar to make a good spreading consistency. We'll make enough to frost an 8-inch square, a 9-inch single layer, or the top of a 9x13 pan. Nice. And here we have a crazy cake. You can make a crazy cake. The ingredients don't look too crazy, but you need 1½ cups of flour, 1 cup of sugar, 3 tablespoons of cocoa, 1 teaspoon of soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1 tablespoon of vinegar, 6 tablespoons of oil, 1 cup of cold water. Sift into 10-inch square pan, no grease, flour, sugar, cocoa, soda, and salt. Make 3 wells with fork. Put vanilla, vinegar, and oil in wells. Pour water over all and mix well with fork or small whisk. Bake at 350-degree oven for 30 minutes. Well, how about that? You don't even need extra stuff. You just put it all in the pan. That is crazy. And it doesn't mess up as many dishes. I'm down for that. And then for the icing, you need 1 cup of sugar, 1 stick of oleo, 4 tablespoons of cocoa, and 1/4 cup of milk. Mix and bring to a boil. Cook for 1 to 2 minutes. Set aside and cool till it thickens slightly. Spread on cake and cut into 9 squares. That is crazy. Not really. Here we have Aunt Corinne's cocoa pie. Ooh, cocoa pie. Aunt Corinne's cocoa pie. You need 1/2 cup of cocoa, 1½ cups of sugar, 1/4 cup of cornstarch, 3 egg yolks. Whites may be used for meringue if desired. 2 cups of milk, 1/4 cup of salt. Oh, sorry, not 1/4 cup. 1/4 teaspoon of salt. 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and 1 9-inch deep dish pie crust. Prick and bake pie crust. Blend together first 6 ingredients in blender. Pour into 9-inch skillet. Cook until thick over medium heat, stirring constantly. Add vanilla flavoring and pour into baked pie crust. Add meringue or whipped topping if desired. That sounds pretty good. I have time for one more. What should we do? Well, it's fall. Let's do this one. Libby's Famous Pumpkin Pie. It's not from Libby, it's from J. Carruthers, but it's Libby's Famous Pumpkin Pie. This will be our last one. You need 1 unbaked 9-inch deep dish pie shell, 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. My cat just shook her head, made a funny noise. 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves, 2 eggs, and 1 3/4 cups 15-ounce can of pumpkin, 1½ cups or a 12-ounce can of evaporated milk. Combine sugar, salt, cinnamon, ginger, and cloves in small bowl. Beat eggs lightly. Stir in pumpkin and sugar and spice mixture. Gradually stir in evaporated milk. Pour in pie shell. Bake in a preheated 425-degree oven for 15 minutes. Reduce temperature to 350 degrees. Bake for 40 to 50 minutes or until knife inserted near center comes out clean. Cool on wire rack for 3 hours. Serve immediately or chill. Jay bakes this for his grandmothers and girlfriends. Very nice. So that is Libby's Famous Pumpkin Pie. Who the heck is Libby? I don't know, but he stole her pie recipe. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed getting to hear these little recipes today. These are always a lot of fun to read. I enjoy them, and I always get some good ideas looking through these books. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope that you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again soon.